I've managed a little testing of the FuelX system, but not as much as I would have liked. The UK weather is against me now, so proper testing of this may have to wait until the spring. So count this as initial findings only. I should also mention that my bike is not standard. It's running the DNA air filter and cover, a Delcovic downpipe and a Super Trap silencer. So the results I achieve may be different to what you would achieve with a standard bike. Let's cut to the chase. Here are my results so far. Initially, I tested the unit using my usual wide open throttle 30 to 50 mile an hour acceleration test. I tried various settings but could not measure any appreciable difference, which is why there are no results for that test shown here. I did, however, find that after setting 7, the bike felt like it was running too rich. I was very disappointed, so I contacted the manufacturer, who kindly sent me their dyno results for the 350 engine. We'll look at those shortly. But what you can see here are the results for an acceleration test using 50% throttle from 30 to 45 miles per hour. This does seem to show a difference between setting 6 and setting 3. Setting 3 is the standard setting. And I also tried setting 8, but couldn't get any consistent results. I went back for a second test, but weather conditions meant that the results were very inconsistent, so I can't really draw any firm conclusions yet. I need to do a bit more testing. But let's have a look at those dyno charts. This is their wide open throttle power curve for the 350 engine. I've annotated that graph a little. FuelX have chosen to highlight the maximum power difference between the without FuelX red curve and the with it blue curve. I measure that at 1.7 horsepower at just under 6,500 RPM. That's a 9% increase. However, peak power occurs just before then at around 5,900 RPM, and here the difference is just 6% or 1.3 horsepower. For my road test in third gear, 50 miles an hour is around 5 to 5,500 RPM. The curves are pretty similar up to this point, which is probably why I couldn't measure a performance increase. I've also plotted the torque curve. There's an increase at wide open throttle, but it's not huge. But they also sent me the dyno curve for a 50% throttle run. Here there seems to be more gains to be had. It seems that part throttle is where the unit might be most useful, although once again how big those gains are depends on which statistics you want to use. Peak power increases 1.1 horsepower, or 7.5%. The maximum power gain between the two curves, the bit that they highlight, is, of course, bigger, at 2.9 horsepower, or a 22% gain at 5,700 RPM. I do seem to be able to measure some gains using my 50% throttle acceleration test. But can this be felt when the bike is ridden? I tried just taking the bike out for a ride, trying out the various maps to see if I could feel a difference, concentrating on part throttle response. From the seat of my pants, I settled on setting 5 or 6. But it wasn't like night or day better over the standard setting, and I also wasn't sure if I picked those settings just because I desperately wanted this unit that I'd paid a considerable amount of money for to actually be doing something. And here's what the torque curves would look like at that 50% throttle opening. So, what conclusions do I have? Yes, the Hunter may well have a little more power and torque than standard with the FuelX fitted, if the dyno curves are to be believed. But the biggest gains are at part throttle and in the upper regions of the rev range. The nub of the question may be, how do you ride your bike? Normal everyday riding may indeed be more part throttle than full throttle, but personally I suspect that I don't often find myself at 5,500 RPM on part throttle. I suspect I change up before then, when I'm just tootling along as I normally do. That's one thing that I will be paying more attention to when I next go out riding. The other claims for FuelX, such as reduced engine temperature, I've not yet tried to measure. I've also read more road tests of the FuelX fitted to other bikes where they've waxed lyrical about how it has improved a jerky low-speed throttle response, making slow-speed riding in traffic easier. But I've always thought that as standard, the Hunter was really good in this respect. I'm not sure that it could be or needs improving. And so, if I had to give an answer to the question, is the performance increase worth the money? Then at this point, I'd probably say no. But I'll do more testing in the spring. There are still lots more things I'd like to try, and that may very well change my answer. But whatever you do to your Hunter, modified or standard, have fun riding it. It's a cracking little bike.